Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll probably be starting in just a minute or so, as probably people are still joining as I see from the panel. So just give us, again, just 1 minute and we'll get started right away. Okay, give it a few more seconds as people are still joining. All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening for some of you. Again, thanks for joining our webinar today. I know it's been quite a while since we did our last webinar. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Paulo. I manage sales for EMEA, APJ, and partnerships globally. And also on the line, obviously, is Patrick, heading up the R&D and also our CEO. So in today's session, in the next hour or so, we won't be focusing on module suite updates. That webinar will actually be on June 12th. Today, we want to present essentially a new solution, a new product that we're calling AnswerModules AI Gateway. Now, Patrick, during the course of this webinar, will be explaining why it came about, what it is, how it can be leveraged, what's the value of it, etc., while also illustrating a live demonstration of it. From my perspective, so a little bit more very 1,000 miles up high level summary. So simply put, it allows for the for the orchestration, a secure orchestration and governance of AI in the organization, so in an enterprise context. So that is what we'll be discussing today. Patrick, may I ask for the next slide, please? So before we dive into the meat and bones of today's session, maybe for those of you that are one of the first times learning about AnswerModules, let me introduce us very, very briefly. So we are a Swiss-based company, although we are operating globally, and we are a product-focused company. Now, our users and our, let's say, the community around our solutions, completely global, completely cross-industry, and also we're partnering globally with different service providers and SIs. Naturally, we are an open text partner, very successful one at that, part of the solution extension program. And maybe some of you don't know this, but we are expanding in terms of the group. So AnswerModules remains the product organization. Answer Consulting, they are the ones delivering services on our solution and collaborating with partners worldwide. And relatively recently, I believe a year or so ago, a new company was added to the group, and that is Creative Answer. So our marketing and AI technology organization. So we're a little bit of a growing family in that sense. So with that, I will hand off to Patrick, let's say the star of the webinar, to guide us through the AI Gateway server, and again, explain how it came about, what it is, what's the value, and also show it to us for the first time.
Thank you very much, Paulo. So what's the purpose for today is we're going to discuss a brand new product that we are creating and we are still developing. So it's not yet ready for delivery, but we want to introduce you and at the end you also understand why we'd like to present you right away and get your feedback on it. Before to jump into the discussion about the product itself, it's worth to have some vocabulary past and some concepts discussed to be sure that all of you are in line with what we are going to discuss. So AI agents, they became paramount importance in the recent months. So everything is moving towards them, and they are changing completely the way we operate as IT professionals. They're changing the way companies operate and how the integration are created, performed, or how business logic is implemented, application developed, etc. So knowing what an agent is and understanding them and being able to work with them is, as said, of paramount importance. So at the core of any agent, as far as what agent means for the time being, is a large language model. And this is a very common and architecture. So it's the purpose of the large language model is to understand the user, understand his intention, and be able to interact with the user, leveraging natural language. The user assigns the LLM a goal, so typically is interacting with the agent in order to achieve something, to get something, or to understand something. And this is typically what defines an agent. So agents always has a goal. The agent creator provides a context typically to the agent. So defines the environments, constraints, input, the prompts, the scope, what it can do, and basically define how the agent behaves and even the persona for the agent. An agent, in order to interact with other systems, in order to interact with resources, file system, the real world, solution records, etc., needs to be able to access them through tools. So tools is nothing but the definition of APIs that the LLM can ask the system that is actually featuring this API to execute and provide answer in a specific format, so that the LLM itself can understand the result of these executions. And this is the way the LLM interacts with the world. And then the LLM also needs memory. So meaning that if you're running with long tasks or large domains, the chat itself, the context is not enough for the LLM to keep all the information. And so it needs a way to access more data and to access an external memory or external storage in which all the information it needs to access to in order to accomplish its goal can be persisted. So in a logical view, the user gives the agent a goal. The agent performs tasks interacting with a set of tools and rely on the large language model to actually perform the reasoning. Okay, so this is a very simple architecture for a single agent solution. The reality is a bit more complicated, and we are going to look into it. So in terms of the data, how the data flows, so the moment a request is received by the agent sends the request to the LLM for reasoning and for accomplishing the task, and the LLM suggests the agent to execute a certain set of tools, and the agent itself is the one that should interact with the external systems exposing these tools, calling for their execution, collecting their data back, and send it back to the LLM for further processing. So the protocols that are emerging for this kind of interactions are basically two. So MCP model context protocol is a protocol that was created by Anthropic last year, and so it became very rapidly an industry standard. So it's the way is a standard way for external systems to expose their tools so that the agents can consume them and can send this information back to LLMs. And typically, the way you work with the LLM depends on the specific LLM technology that you're using, depends on the service providers that you're using. Can be OpenAI, can be Google Vertex, can be DeepMind, etc. There are many, but each one of them has its own APIs, and basically, typically the agent works with their APIs. In a more complex scenario, such as the one that we are very rapidly approaching, and is the kind of architecture that is now very common and very easy to find in many systems. So they do not work in isolation. They collaborate, they work together. Each agent with a specific task, a specific goal, and with the capability of using multiple tools, interacting with multiple models, interacting with among each others. So, and to support this kind of architecture and support this kind of scenario, obviously other protocols have emerged recently. So, agent-to-agent protocol from Google, for example, in order to allow agents to interact and work together. So, what is MCP? As we said before, so MCP is nothing but a protocol that solves the problem of allowing agents to find, so discover tools, understand what a system is capable of, and a way to interact securely with external systems and external resources in order to trigger action and execute these tools on target systems. So has been developed in order to simplify the integration between agents that are leveraging LLMs and any other systems, and in order to introduce a common way for, again, exposing these tools towards these agents. We briefly discussed A2A. So what this protocol basically serves for is to allow agents to work together, to collaborate, and sharing tasks and work on, for example, long-running tasks, and being able to remain specialized. So each agent capable of doing very well a very specific set of tasks, relying on other agents with other skills to perform additional tasks and accomplish different results. So why do we need two protocols? Why couldn't we use a MCP also to implement a agent-to-agent collaboration? So why an agent is not yet another tool that your agent can call? Well, the essence is that the protocols are meant for two different purposes. So the MCP is really meant and designed to support call APIs, database APIs, call, accessing external resources, file system, etc. So simple operation, not super complex tasks, but also tasks that are, let me say, they do not accomplish a goal per se. Agent to agent it has different kind of interactions. That the idea is enabling collaboration on multi-step tasks, being able to delegate work to specialized agents with reasoning capabilities, and being able to, for example, share goals, memory, etc. So it's really more about enabling agents to collaborate and work together rather than just using resources and functionalities from other systems. What are the key benefits of MCP? So definitely it simplifies the integration. So having tools exposed in a form that is compatible with MCP means that you can reuse them right away with very little configuration and very little effort in any application you want to implement that is leveraging this protocol. It is the same protocol for basically every system, so it's sort of a very powerful way for performance integration. enables very rich AI integration, so allows it to access real-time data, access data and tools, and make them more useful. Obviously, boost developers' productivity, so because you don't have to implement every time your own integration with different systems. So it's basically the system or the service provider that is in charge of exposing their own APIs, their own tools in a way that is compatible and consumable by your agent. And it also a secure way for accessing these tools. And MCP is a evolving protocol. The most recent version of it focuses on enhancing the security of it. And so even though there is still some work to do, it has been designed to be utilized in an enterprise context. So what are the challenges of adopting MCP into an enterprise context? What are the things that we need to care about? So as said here, and from this a couple of very interesting papers, so the securing MCP is not really just about securing the transport layer. So it's really not just the communication layer between the elements of the architecture that needs to be secured. Is really about enforcing trust boundaries between human, client, and server, and the tools that are invoked. So there are a set of questions that whenever you put together an architecture that is leveraging MCP, you should care about. And there's, let me say, things that you really need to care in terms of how you are exposing and consuming, and the risks that you are exposing your organization to consuming services through this protocol. So a typical architecture, architecture for working with MCP server has an MCP client and MCP server working on a mutual TLS protocol, so exchanging information on a mutual TLS protocol with the MCP client, providing a JWT token for accessing the APIs that the server needs to access, and this MCP server relying this or sending this token down to the tools that are actually in the need of leveraging this authorization. So it's really about understanding and trusting the identity of the caller, and ensuring that not just you are you're authorized to perform certain calls, but you are actually the one that was supposed to actually perform these calls. So in an enterprise context, managing and being able to manage multiple MCP servers can, as you imagine, easily become an issue and a problem. So one of the, for example, the risks that you are exposing working with yourself, working with MCPs servers, or the challenges that you might face are, for example, this one. So, for example, naming collision in the tools names. So, and that is the kind of things that can be utilized to for example, create or to damage your organization, and to exploit security issues that are inherently part of the architecture. Inconsistent description is another problem. Consider that the tools are selected by the LLM for being executing on the basis basically of their description, which is plain English, and so that is it might be just providing a wrong description or an inaccurate description of the tools, and the parameters that it takes, etc., can expose your systems and can expose elements of your system that are unsecure. So what a typical enterprise requirement would be is to have a centralized way for managing all these challenges and for accessing securely all these systems, and to implement in a consistent way integration between systems leveraging these protocols. And this is what the AnswerModules AI Gateway server is for. So a solution that is designed to securely orchestrate and govern the AI and MCP servers in your organization, and as you will see, offering you additional interesting functionality. So the server, this new product, will be launched at in occasion of our user group next September in Barcelona. So there will be hopefully the solution will be generally available, but we are opening up for a beta program starting from mid-August of this year, and registration will be open starting from June 9th. At the moment, we are considering having 5 spots for the beta program. And so if you're interested, drop an email to this email address. And so this is our first come first serve kind of program. So if you are interested in looking at the tool and being able to be the first of using it, do not hesitate and do not waste time, and send an email to the email address. What kind of problems this tool solves? So as we said, so the problems that we are trying to address are lack of access control over AI tools, the fact that there is no centralized authorization and auditability when using multiple MCP servers, security and compliance risks associated with the AI usage, and fragmented integration with identity, tokens, workflows, etc. So the AI gateway will act as a middleware security orchestration layer between clients, MCP servers, identity providers, tools, and users. And as you will see from an architectural point of view, so this is a solution that we are developing to be cloud first. So on a containerized architecture, and so it's scalable, can run on your hypervisor of choice, can even run on-prem if you want. But again, the purpose of it is to again act as a middleware. What are the core capabilities of the tool? So first of all, the gateway will act as a proxy to multiple MCP servers. So it will be your centralized entry point towards all the MCP servers that your organization wants to consume. We'll connect with your identity providers. So we'll implement single sign-on with your identity provider, and will associate users and groups authorization profiles. And these authorization profiles will have expire windows. So you will be able to decide when this authorization profile should expire. So a profile basically defines what resources, servers, tools, agents are accessible to your users. And resources are granted, as we said, based on the identity, so the user, the group, the association, and time validity. So even though profiles are statics, the time-bound access adds a additional layer of flexibility. Obviously, why they are important? So you're limiting the exposure of sensitive tools and models. You are auditing everything that is the users are doing, the administrators are doing, and you can check what is going on your architecture, on your systems, and you will be able to enforce policies across different across hybrid systems, so on-prem and cloud environments. And there will be a clear separation of responsibility, so admin, analysts, and the AI trainers. Why we mention it, why we call it the AI gateway, so you will get a sense in a moment. So it's really not just really a proxy, so it can do more, but essentially what will allow you to do in terms, for example, of tool governance. So you will be able to discover registered new MCP servers, rewrite tool metadata. So basically you will have control over what tool metadata is exposed to your actual clients. So for example, a common scenario is consuming a tool that is designed by a standard software vendor and having to rename the name of the product into your specific domain because your users know him by a different name. So for example, if your open text content management system in your organization is named something different like that from extended DCM or open text content management, you will basically be able to expose and rename all these tools metadata accordingly to your domain naming convention, so that the LLM will be actually able to understand what tools have to be called. Also, this protects you from malicious action. So if someone basically changes the tool metadata, etc., having override them will guarantee you that there is no way for attackers to leverage that to basically store data or access your information. You will be able to disable tools entirely. So because you are acting as a proxy, you will have full control over the tools that are actually exposed. So you will be able to cherry pick the tools that you actually want your system to be able to expose. You will be able to restrict access to tools and MCP server by associating profiles. You will be able to define tools locally, working with content scripts and tool chain, which is a concept that we are introducing. I'm going to introduce later on. So there are various use cases that this will be relevant for. And you can find them on the slides. Visualization and composition will be an important important feature for the AI gateway. So the idea is that you will be able to create this tool chain. So basically you will be able to chain tools execution in workflows, defining new tools as a composition of an existing one. And you will be able to do that without having to write a ton of code, even though you will be able to have very fine-grained control over what the system is doing, because again, you will be able to work with content script, you will be able to work with beautiful web forms in order to create these tools. And this is an interesting functionality. To the AI gateway, you will be able to create virtual MCP servers. So you will be able basically to create and expose MCP servers that are the results of combining existing tools from other MCP servers or tool chains or local defined tools. And you will be able to expose them as a standard MCP servers to clients of your application or other systems. You will be able to keep the users in the loop. So this is interesting and is quite unique feature. So the idea is that we will, through AI gateway, you will be able to interact with humans, or to let the agent to interact with humans in a structured way. And basically this kind of specialized tool will be based on offering a user or a group of users a task, and to this task having a form, so a very well-defined way of providing input associated. And so that will be a way for, again, having a users or group of users as part of the workflow of an agent. So the agent being able to interact with them as part of his workflow. Through the agent gateway, you will be able to define agents. So in the concept, so directly on the gateway, you will be able to define agent you will be able to interact with, either directly from the interface of the gateway or from your other application. What an agent is in terms of AI gateways, the definition of the persona, the scope, so the set of tools, MCP servers, the resources that we'll be able to access to, the model, the LLM model that is backing up, and everything will be tied to the authorization profiles that we have defined on the system. So the user will be able only to see, for example, specific agents and interact with just these specific agents. What a user will be able to do directly on the AI gateway. So AI gateway, as I said, is not just a gateway, is not just a proxy for services, is an application that your users will be able to use directly. So through the application, your users will be able to chat with the models that you are making available to them. Will be able to manage the authorization towards all the systems that the agents define on the gateway needs to use in order to accomplish his work and work with the tools. You will be able to chat with a specific agent and or review what the agent did or replay tools execution and verify what happened. What is coming next? So this is a kind of a feature that it will be not part of the first release, but it's something that we are working on. So the capability of the AI tool, the AI gateway to auto learn tool chain. So basically, looking at the user interaction and looking at how the user performs certain tasks and what tools have been involved into executing a certain task. So the system will learn new tools as the composition of existing one. And it's now time to actually see the solution in action. So I will stop sharing for a moment.
In the meantime, if there's any questions, feel free to drop them into the Q&A panel, and we'll take those at the end.
I don't know how to stop sharing. Interesting. Sharing is stopped as the share window is closed. Okay, that's good. So let me share my screen. Well, let's should be the work. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me enter my email. Good. So this is basically I'm a super user right now, so I can see basically all the functionality. Not as we mentioned, not all of them have been completely developed. So this is to be considered a sneak peek, but I like to show you, for example, how you will be able to administer MCP servers. So from here, as you see, I have already registered a couple of MCP servers. I can see the profiles that are being associated to it. I can see the tools that this MCP server is exposing. And from here, I can, for example, disable the MCP server entirely. If I enable it, the system asks for confirmation, or I can disable a single tool, or I can override the metadata of a tool. So in this case, I can override the description. I can override the description of the single parameters. Okay, so super easy, and basically we are going to persist the written value and the previous value, so you can get a sense of what used to be, etc. So to give you a sense here, I can say, for example, the name of the product as obtain using the tool name blah, 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 blah. And basically I am instructing the system on how you use this tool, basically combining with another tool. And again, just to give you an example. From here, you will be also able to register new servers. So if you are a model suite user, so if you have model suite, you will be able to register an MCP server that is basically directly executing on your OpenText content management. But you can also register standard servers such as local servers or remote one. And you will be able to republish them if you want to. And you will be able to assemble virtual servers. So if I, for example, let's say I want to define well, let's use the model suite. So if I want to define a demo server and I want to actually use model suite as a server, so I will have, basically you will have an API and a new service that allows you to define the tools that your server is going to expose. So here I have to go to 0.answermodules.com and I can just associate a profile, for example, in here, and that should be it. Okay. And the moment the new server is registered, you see the system is fetching the tools that this server is actually exposing. And I can see here the two tools that the server exposing. So create NDA and start approval. So I can look at the services. So the first one takes a workspace ID, and the second one takes more information. So it takes a document, review, final approver as parameters. And again, I can eventually override them from here. I can define a virtual server. So in this case, I can say, for example, this is a virtual and and I can expose it. So this will be exposed to a certain port on your system. I can again select the profiles this server will be associated to. And from here, I can basically select the tools that you will be able to use. So for example, I can use the one that we have just selected. So create NDA and, for example, start approval, or I can eventually associate an entire server if I want to. Okay, so I can either cherry pick a single tool from existing servers, or I can associate the entire server and basically proxying it. This is particularly useful if you are, for example, want to proxy a local server and as a remote one. That can be helpful. Save, and basically again the system creates the virtual server and makes it available, and from here you can at any time modify it or disable it or delete it. Other things that you can do, as we said, so if you have defined agents on your system, so the agents is again is a combination of a scope, prompt, and the models that you can utilize. So you can chat directly with the agent. So you can have chat history, you can have previous chats, and you will be able to create a chat directly from here. And depending on the system that you have connected, you will be able to access users, documents, etc. So if I look at the documents, I can look at here. I can, as part of the context that we have defined for this agent, I can directly refer some of the documents that are part of the context for the agent. Hello, and it should respond. And you will have, as I said, multiple agents. Each agent is associated to multiple profiles. So then the kind of agents, etc., you can see. So as a standard user, it depends on the profile that's being associated to you. Obviously, you can also chat directly with the single, let me say, the model directly. So you can have a generic chat that is not well defined. And last thing that I'd like to show you is how you can create toolchain. So as we said, toolchain will be the composition of existing tools. So from here, I can, for example, say again, I can take, for example, the create NDA and the start approval, and I will be able to basically combine the two, and basically the resulting tool will have input parameters as much as any, let me say, non-associated inputs, and we'll have a description that we will define, and will produce basically whatever the last tool will provide. Obviously, we are going to add, we're adding certain tools that are, let me say, system tools, kind of. So for example, if I want to debug what the system is doing, I can just add the log in the middle. This is really just a pass-through tool, does nothing, but really what it does is to log whatever the tool from produces from here and is sending to the next. And with that, I'm gonna stop my sharing, and we are available to answer your questions if you have any.
There is one question at the moment. So what is the difference between virtual and remote servers in this scenario?
I think that I've demonstrated it. So the virtual server is basically a server that you can compose out of the resources and the tools exposed by other servers, and combining them, or adding, for example, I might even just take, for example, the, I don't know, the PayPal server, and add additional tools implemented locally as scripts, and so basically enhancing the original server with additional tools.
Thank you for that. So while we wait for other questions, let me just bring up, or Patrick, could you bring up the very last slide?
Sure.
If you still have that open. So while we wait for other questions, and then maybe Patrick, we can also re-show the slide with the email for the pilot program. But in any case, what I would like to well, not announce, but remind the audience is that we will be having our annual user group this year. It will be back in Europe, as Patrick mentioned at the beginning, if I recall. It'll be in Barcelona from the 18th to the 19th of September. The format will be like that of previous years. So the 18th will be essentially a forum for the community to share their use cases, their stories, best practices, for us to share some product updates. 19th will be complimentary training as well. All the details, the registration, they are on our showcase portal. Two more questions that came through, Patrick. The first one is, do Answer Consulting include this in their services?
Hopefully so.
So again, I believe the answer to that is, as Patrick mentioned, this is ongoing development, but when it will be officially released, absolutely. Another question is hardware requirements for an AI gateway.
So this is something that is still, let me say that we are still evaluating, as we mentioned. So the is a container-based solution. So it really depends on the load that you are considering so I don't have an answer right away, but probably more information will become available as soon as the beta program will start.
Thank you. Another one, will there be a set of default out-of-the-box tool agents for common CSP, so content server functionalities?
So we are not considering creating a set of default scripts. So creating a script is so easy that it really that makes no sense. And the flexibility that being able to create that content scripts offers you in terms of being able to create agents, it's amazing. So no, we are not considering issuing a library, but we might in the future. One aspect that I hope that was clear is, so this is a solution that works outside of Content Server, outside of the content management, and it is kind of agnostic to the systems that is capable of connecting to. So obviously, because of Model Suite and because we have the expertise, so the open text content management solution is, as you have seen, is a first kind of citizen in the AI Gateway, but AI Gateway will be able to connect and execute scripts against APIs of many other different systems, and that's the idea. So to be more specific, so the content scripts, they will run on AI Gateway. So they are not necessarily executed on content server. So you don't need content server in order to work with the AI Gateway.
And another question that came in is, would this support similar use cases like Aviator, such as asking questions regarding documents in a workspace?
Potentially, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So at the moment, there's no additional questions. Obviously, if those come up afterwards, if anything comes to mind, feel free to drop us a line. More than happy to take those offline as well. In the meantime, thank you again for everyone's time. If you'd like to see a little bit more of the updates on the Module Suite version 3.9, that webinar will be on June 12th, so in a few weeks' time. Again, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.